Hello everybody, welcome back. In this video we have another PlayStation 5 and this one has no power. Anyhow, let's get into this one and let's see what is going on. So as I say, this one is no power issue apparently, so it's got absolutely no power whatsoever. So let's grab our power lead, let's pop in the power lead and see what is going on. So once the power lead's in, we get absolutely no beep or anything, no beep from the eject button, anything at all, right? So let's open it up and see what is happening. Now, usually when there's no beep from the eject either, it could be a issue with the actual power supply, or it could be the 12-volt rail which is shorted out completely. This one has obviously been opened already, right? So got a bit of a dent there as well. So let's get it open. I won't film. Well, I'll fast forward through the actual part of me opening the console. You've all seen consoles being opened before, so I'll skip through that bit. Right, so at this point, what's best to do is if we just plug in the power again, and then we can take some readings from the motherboard. Around the motherboard, there should be various voltages that we can pick up and then start kind of diagnosing where the issues are, right? So let me just bring the multimeter up on screen. Right, let's come in with our power. Grab our probes. So black probe anywhere on ground. Right, now up here by this little transistor IC, the top leg, that should be 5 volts. Yep. Out of the 3 here, the bottom one, the top leg, that should be around 3.3 volts. Just get it on there, 3.3, which is good. Where else can we check? So over here, these capacitors, one side should be 5 volts. Yep, that should be 5 volts as well. Oh. Yep, good. Down here, I think we should have 12 volts down here. Yep, 12 volts. Then over here, we should get some readings as well. So top one there should be 0 volts. Bottom one there, I think should be around 12 volts. Okay, so that's good. Over here, we should have a reading of, I think it's 3 volts or 5 volts. That's fluctuating, right? Do you see that jumping up and down? That doesn't look good. Right, these capacitors down here should give us a reading. I think it's about 3.3 down here, or maybe 5. Right, and you see that's fluctuating at 2.5, 1.5, 1.2, 2.5. Right, so that is jumping all over the place. That shouldn't be doing that. So this circuit is trying to power up, but failing. That looks to be the DC to DC converter, voltage converter. So we'll have a look at that in a little bit more detail. So we're getting 12, we're getting 5, we're getting 3.3. So we are getting the voltage, so we know it's not the power supply that's in the issue, right? But this obviously over here does need a little bit more looking into. So let's get the motherboard out and take a look. Right, so with our motherboard out, we can take a closer look. Now, one thing I've just noticed when taking the motherboard out, I don't know if you'll see it on camera, but the motherboard is actually twisted. So I think this console has suffered from drop damage. Right, so if you can see, it's kind of bending down this way a little bit. And you can see it a little bit here where it's kind of arching down and then coming up. So with a drop damage, the problem is the APU, right? Obviously, underneath the APU, there's loads and loads of solder points, right? It's a load of solder balls, and when they get damaged, it means you have to reball the whole APU, and you don't actually yet know what other damage it's done. So this one might not be fixable. If you remember earlier, I mentioned on the optical drive that it looked like to be a dent, so I think this has suffered drop damage. So this might be a fail, but let's have a look anyhow, right, and see what we can come up with. First things first, what I'm going to do is just put my bench power supply to the motherboard and see what readings we get. So when you plug in a power supply, this is obviously where the power supply connects to. What you should see is a certain amount of amps being pulled by the board as all the components start powering up, and then it will drop down again into standby mode. So let's see what we get on this one. So let's just grab our leads. Let me bring up my bench power supply onto the screen so you can see what's going on. So on this motherboard, by the way, this one is the EDM031 model of the motherboard, so it is the smaller style motherboard, if you hadn't already noticed. So this is the predecessor just before the PS5 Slim. Anyhow, right, let's connect up our bench power supply. And then if you keep your eyes on just down here, how do I do this? By the actual power supply readings, right, the current, it should go up to around about 30 milliamps and then drop down again. Right, so I am going to apply the power in 3, 2, 1. See it go up, 325 milliamps, and then it drops down again. Right, so that's a good sign, right? That's exactly what it should do, okay? So let's switch off the power supply. We'll do it once more just so you can see it again, right? So keep your eye on the current down here. Just there. Keep your eye on the current. Goes up. 32, 0.32, and drops back down again. Right, that's exactly what we want to see. So what we can tell by that is the components starting to power up. The South bridge is powering up, and the BIOS IC is starting to power up. It won't do anything after that, and obviously until you actually push the power button, because that's in standby mode. What I think our next port of call should be that DC to DC converter, which was over here, wasn't it? Right. So we saw this pulsing on the multimeter. I think that might have an issue, right? It might be because of as again the APU and all the solder boards, have been damaged. So this again might not be fixable. But let's just run our multimeter around here and have a look. So let's pop the multimeter into continuity mode. That's the mode that beeps when you push your probes together, like so. So one probe on ground, right? We're just going to buzz around this area here, right? So there's some caps around here. On a capacitor, one side should beep, should be grounded, and the other side shouldn't, right? As you can see, there's 292 ohms on that side, which is good. That side beeps, which is ground. That side doesn't. It's got 500 ohms, which is good. That side beeps, which is good. All right, so this side is beeping as well. That's 46 ohms. That's too low. So that's beeping as well. Again, that's too low. And that side's ground. So as we saw this pulsing on when we were doing the voltage readings earlier, and there's a short there, there's definitely something wrong with this circuit, right? But I say there's something showing as faulty in this circuit, but it might not be this circuit. I think because of the drop damage, it might actually be the APU anyhow, right? That could be the APU trying to power up in standby mode, and then this is just showing the signs of the APU powering up, but they're not actually powering up. So it might not be good news anyhow. So I think we try replacing this DC to DC converter. It's a Dialog IC. You can find these on all models of PlayStation 5s, right? So not just this EDM 031 board. They're on the older models as well. But I'm not being funny. I'm not holding up much hope with that bend in the board. It might fix it, right? Let's give it a bash anyhow. Just replace that Dialog IC and see if it makes any difference. All right, let's get under the microscope. Right, so as you saw me, I did remove all of the capacitors as well, but the short is still there. So it is pointing to something else on the board, right, which I kind of thought. Now, if this board wasn't bent like a banana, I would probably try and spend a little bit more time trying to diagnose it. As I say, the problem is it could be pretty much any main component on the board, like the APU. It might even be the SSD controller. Southbridge seems okay because it's getting that boot sequence. It might be any of these RAM chips, which have all slightly been lifted, right, as part of the drop. So you literally could be chasing this for hours and hours. So I think we will call this one a foul, unfortunately, but we've got some spare parts. So there you go. So unfortunately, not all consoles can be fixed. So this one is a fail, but anyhow, thanks very much for watching. I really do appreciate your view. If you did find the video of any use, please consider giving us a thumbs up. It really does help us out. And please consider subscribing to the channel. We are uploading videos weekly now. So please stay tuned for more videos coming soon. As I say, thanks very much for watching. Please take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.